Imagine waking up, lifting a rug in your basement, knocking down a single brick wall, and discovering a massive hand-carved megacity hidden hundreds of feet directly beneath your home. That is exactly what happened in 1963 in Cappadocia, Turkey. A man chasing his chickens through a renovated basement stumbled upon a dark passage. What he found wasn't just a cave, it was an engineering masterpiece carved 18 stories deep into the earth. A subterranean fortress designed to hide 20,000 people along with their livestock, schools, churches, and food supplies, completely sealed off from the surface world. How did ancient humans build this without modern machinery? Who were they hiding from? And how did they breathe, eat, and survive in total darkness for months at a time? Today on Learnt, we are descending into Derinkuyu, the underground city that hid 20,000 people. To truly understand the mystery of the Derinkuyu underground city, we have to look at the unique geology of Cappadocia, Turkey. Millions of years ago, volcanic eruptions covered this region in thick layers of ash, which solidified into a soft, malleable rock known as volcanic tuff. Ancient builders realized that while this rock was incredibly sturdy once exposed to air, it was soft enough to be carved out using simple hand tools like chisels and picks. And carve they did. Derinkuyu is not a simple network of caves, it is a highly sophisticated, multi-level metropolis reaching a depth of nearly 280 feet. To give you some perspective, that is deep enough to bury an 18-story skyscraper completely underground. So far, archaeologists have mapped 8 distinct levels open to the public, but estimates suggest that there could be up to 18 or even 20 levels total, most of which are still completely unexcavated. But why go through all this trouble? Why leave the beautiful sunlit valleys of Turkey to live like moles in the dark? The answer lies in survival. Cappadocia was a geopolitical crossroad. For centuries, it was the ultimate target for invading armies, from the Persians and the Romans to the early Arab Byzantine wars. When the warning signs of an invasion appeared on the horizon, the entire local population would vanish into the earth. But surviving underground presents 3 massive engineering challenges: air, water, and security. Let's talk about air first. If you put 20,000 people and thousands of animals in a closed space, they will suffocate within hours. The builders of Derinkuyu solved this with mind-blowing ventilation systems. They carved a central ventilation shaft that plummets over 180 feet down, cutting through every single level. This main shaft acted as a natural air pump, drawing fresh air from the surface and distributing it through thousands of smaller secondary air ducts hidden throughout the city. Next was water. The central ventilation shafts pulled double duty as deep wells. However, the builders were incredibly clever. The wells on the lower levels were intentionally not connected to the surface. Why? To prevent invaders from poisoning the water supply from above. Finally, let's look at the living spaces. As you walk through the upper levels, you encounter massive, fully functioning stables carved right into the stone. Keeping animals on the upper levels was a strategic move. It kept the intense smell of livestock close to the surface ventilation, preventing toxic odors from sinking down into the human living quarters below. Beneath the stables, the city opens up into a maze of family living spaces, communal kitchens with blackened ceilings from cooking smoke, oil presses, wine cellars, a religious school, and even a massive cruciform church. But what happens if an enemy army figures out where the entrances are and tries to breach the city? This is where the military genius of Derinkuyu shines. The underground city was designed as an absolute death trap for invaders. The primary defense mechanism consisted of massive circular rolling stone doors. These giant stone wheels weighed up to 1,100 pounds and were carved directly into the walls of the tunnels. Here's the brilliant part. These doors were engineered with a severe mechanical disadvantage for anyone on the outside. Because of the way the stone tracks were sloped and tapered, a single person on the inside could easily roll the wheel into place, sealing the tunnel completely. But from the outside, even a dozen strong soldiers couldn't budge it. Furthermore, the doors featured a small central hole. While tourists today think it was just a peephole, archaeologists believed it served a much darker purpose. It allowed defenders to spear invaders or pour boiling oil directly onto anyone attempting to break through. Even if an army somehow bypassed a door, the architecture itself was a weapon. The tunnels connected the levels are notoriously narrow, low, and winding. Soldiers would be forced to march in a single file line, completely hunched over. Local defenders who knew the terrain by heart could easily ambush heavily armed soldiers one by one in the pitch-black maze. If you think one hidden city is crazy, the story gets even wilder. Derinkuyu is not alone. There are over 200 known underground cities and villages scattered across the Cappadocia region, and they weren't isolated. Archaeologists have discovered a mind-blowing secret, a series of hidden underground highways. Derinkuyu is connected to its neighboring underground city, Cappadocia, by a single continuous subterranean tunnel stretching over 3 miles long. Think about that level of planning. If one city was completely compromised or overwhelmed by an enemy siege, the entire population could quietly evacuate through the dark, walking miles underground to emerge safely inside a completely different fortress. This brings us to the ultimate question that still divides historians today. Who actually built this place? While the local Christians and Byzantines heavily expanded and utilized the city between the 7th and 11th centuries AD to escape persecution, modern archaeological evidence suggests the foundations are much, much older. Some historians trace the earliest carvings back to the Phrygians in the 8th century BC. Others point to the Hittites, an ancient Bronze Age civilization that dominated Turkey over 3,000 years ago. There are even alternate theorists who believe these cities dated back to the end of the last ice age, built by a forgotten civilization hiding from a catastrophic climate shift or aerial threats. Derinkuyu stands as a humbling reminder of human resilience. It proves that when faced with total annihilation, our ancestors didn't just survive. They reshaped the earth itself to protect their families, their culture, and their future. Today, you can walk through these exact stone tunnels, touch the rolling doors, and look down the ventilation shafts that kept 20,000 souls alive in the dark centuries. If you could survive underground for 3 months, what is the one modern luxury you absolutely couldn't live without? Let me know in the comments below. If you learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe to Learnt, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into history's greatest hidden wonders. Thanks for watching Learnt. We'll see you in the next video.